glad to have you back. President Muhammadu Buhari met with service chiefs at Aso Rock Villa, the presidential villa in Abuja, on Monday in an emergency security meeting.
Indeed, the meeting, which started at about 11 a.m., had in attendance all service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, heads of paramilitary organizations under the ministry, were also at that meeting.
Journalists were not allowed to cover the high-level security meeting, and as a matter of fact, nothing was told to journalists when they came out of that meeting.
Absolutely. Well, we have joining us now the Director General, International Institute of Professional Security, Tony Ofoyeton. What we got from that meeting was a tweet by the President.
From the Presidency?
And yes, in the paper. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Morning.
We don't have anything to work with, really, as you know, the agenda of that meeting or the purpose of it, but we have to latch it
only
onto the security. Yes, the security development in the country.
It's not even something we can also say that whatever we're going to say about the meeting is not going to be abstract. Basically, when you talk about emergency security meeting, you look at the security challenges.
Absolutely, I was about to say.
Basically, they are not going to be talking outside the major, Fulani militia called the headsmen, kidnapping, the incessant spate of robbery, Boko Haram, and all those stuff like that. And most probably, maybe the president is waking up to say, let me assume that he's giving a marching order, which we had, advocated for long before now that, look, there's the necessity for the president to give a marching order. The only group in any society that is allowed to have the monopoly of violence is the government security agency. It becomes indicting, embarrassing, and also weakening when you have militias and group of people having upper hand or edge above security agencies.
But in the midst of all of this, I mean, you just said the non-state actors wielding, sophisticated weaponry and all of that. In the midst of all of that, I think in December, the president actually confirmed his security chiefs. Is the word confirm? Or, extended their tenure, meaning that he had that was a vote of confidence in their capability and all of that.
Vote of confidence.
Okay, no. What do you think?
When it comes to appointment and extension of service chiefs' tenure, there are a lot of politics that come to play. One of such politics could just be that the pressure was too much on him, and the best way to escape those pressure is to extend their tenure. As simple as that. I hope you understand. It may not necessarily be absolute, because there is no way you will tell me that these guys are the best. They have done their best. It will only keep improving. If you put some other people there, they will look at the areas that these guys have not looked at and try to improve on it.
So I was about to ask
I hope you understand that. So it may not necessarily be because of vote of confidence. It may just be that this, if you understand the way this thing plays, as we speak now, they are extended by 1 year. The 1 year is already about almost 2 or 3 months gone. And as we speak now, there are people, emirs, sultan, kings, KBC, obas, governors that have already lined up names. For these 3 or 4 offices, you may have as much as up to 1,000 names.
But how important,
I hope you understand.
So how important is it really for a system to rejig itself and for the president now, Muhammadu Buhari, to change hands, especially now that the country is facing a lot of security challenges? I want to buttress this with the statement credited to Governor of Borno State about the theater war, the command of the theater of war of Operation Lafia Dole, saying that they are performing very well now, that the previous major generals in charge of the operation failed in their capacity somehow because they didn't put enough energy and confidence into the men to perform, but now they're seeing results in the current command head.
You see, to me, when governors make statements like that, I don't see it too seriously. The reason is because as an executive governor, if you cannot tell people, while those that hold strategic offices are in that office, that they are not doing well, it is when they leave. It's understandable if me as a civilian is doing that, or as an outsider is doing that. But you as an executive governor of a state, It is when, I mean, there's no...
But Governor Samuel Otom is saying that now about the IGP, and even the House of Representatives
that makes a lot of sense.
Removed.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Because as far as he is concerned, the IGP is not doing well. Okay. It makes a lot of sense. So even if the IGP is removed now, and another, he said it well, but to now say that the previous generals didn't do well in Lafayette and all those stuff like that, I don't think I want to buy into that.
All right, speaking of the IGP... If you have ever been to theater of war, you would understand what it means to battle war. It's different from politics.
Absolutely.
It's been described as asymmetric.
In actual fact, it's even the politicians that are giving the security agencies and military officers problem.
How is that?
No, good. You see, when you bring too much politics into security strategy, it distorts it. When you are supposed to move, you are not moving. Because some politician somewhere is saying you can't do this. You can't apply this type of firepower because this is our electoral constituency and all those stuff like that. It withhold the ability of the military and security agencies to move the way they ought to move. I told you something. I said, look, the meeting of the president with the service chief, if it is a meeting of marching order, you will see result. You will see wonderful result. But if it is a meeting that is tainted with politics and 2019, it's as good as nothing.
So it should be dead on arrival. Well, this meeting yesterday was an expanded one. You had the immigration, customs, FRSC, the Road Safety Corps, and the rest of them in that meeting. How important was it for them to be part of this meeting, unlike in previous meetings with, previous security meetings with strictly the security, the service chiefs?
Well, let me assume that actually they've been meeting. There are different forums and different meeting points, even with the NSA, except for the fact that now the president is involved. All heads of security agencies, even including the vigilante group and all those stuff like that, they have a forum, they all meet at regular interval. But because this involves the president now, I want to assume that the president, most likely, is able to identify some security loopholes and needed some areas. Like we have all talked about immigration, for example. We have said there are so many foreigners in this country. The government has severally confirmed the fact that foreigners are also part and parcel of, the cross-border terrorism and all those stuff like that. Then you also talk about the custom and all those stuff like that, the in and out of illegal arms and all those stuff like that. The illegal borders, remember the last time we said we identified about 1,400 and something illegal borders in the country and all those stuff. I want to assume that the NSA and maybe the DSS have been able to galvanize enough information to brief the president, and it is now imperative for the president to bring all stakeholders. Well,
that's why the statement credited to the president on the front page of the Vanguard saying our security solutions will stand the test of time. Maybe a plan was drawn yesterday.
No, to me,
action plan, kind of.
I don't want to. I want to see the security solution first. Not necessarily the substratum. When we see the sketch, this thing may not be in public domain. But when we see the sketch, we will be able to add flesh to it and understand whether it will stand the test of time or not. Because if you ask me, to me, everything the president is doing today, I give it political interpretation. If he has not been able to take decisive decisions before now, and 2019 is at hand, and everything that everything Nigerians are talking about now is politics. So if you are going to tell me anything now, it means that you are not going to say it. Do it. It is when you do it I will know that it is devoid of 2019.
Are you re-echoing the submission of a prominent Nigerian who said just recently in the last 24 or 48 hours that if Buhari wants to end the herdsmen-farmers clashes, then he really can, but there seems to be no political will on his part or on the part of his men to check it as quickly as possible?
The truth is that you don't subject a fact to argument. You only subject issues that are ambiguous to arguments. Once facts are straightforward, you don't need, it's subject to just the literary interpretation. You look at the political will, you look at the body language, you look at what is on ground now, then you come to a reasonable conclusion, very objective, not necessarily persecutory.
Yeah.
I hope you understand that. Truly, I've been in this security industry for quite some time, and I will tell you that, look, the security agencies in this country are more than capable to wipe out I repeat,
they perform excellently well whenever they travel out for international missions.
Wipe out all these so-called militias, Fulani headsmen, Boko Haram and the like. All they need is the 100% support of the government. Once the government is in support and give them the necessary tools in terms of arms and ammunition, my sister, you will sleep with 2 of your eyes and your brain closed until the next day. They are capable of doing that. They have done it severally outside the country. And even in the country, when they see the body language of the... Look, IPOB, remember the issue of what do you call it, IPOB case and all those stuff like that. Because the government was interested in putting it to a rest, all of a sudden there was Python dance. And the Python actually swallowed all the agitation and the like. Because the government was interested in that. The same Buhari we are talking about. And
didn't even follow due process.
Thank you. The same Buhari we are talking about was the person that swallowed the, what do you call it, metacini. Because he's interested. The same Buhari we are talking about is the same man that is silencing the society. Because he's interested. If the same Buhari is also interested in swallowing
a cat is eventually racing now in Benue and the neighboring states.
Let us assume the cat is able to race because the cat does not have the strength to be able to move the way a tiger will move, the way python will move. Does not have the sting of a snake.
Yeah, but the cat can, bring out or smoke out the rat from wherever it enters.
Out the rat. And if it smoke out the rat, does it have that might to be able to do what it ought to do?
That's another thing.
Let us assume that the cat is going to race properly. And let's assume that it's going to bring positive results.
So in the end, it boils down to the political will, really. It brings to mind what Senator Shehu Sani said weeks ago, that whatever you see now is just political calculation and action for votes, because politicians right now are distracted and the government might not even do what you need. Paraphrasing now, that the proper thing to be done might not even be done.
Now, if you look at the wake of this administration, some of the interviews we granted, we said every government, democratically elected government, has 2 years to determine whether it deserves the second term or not. And those 2 years are the first 2 years. The first 2 years. Once it gets to the 3rd year, every other thing you do is in anticipation of a second tenure. Why? Because the 4th year you are going to conduct election. As we speak now, election will be conducted in February next year. So what are we talking about?
So against the
campaign will soon start.
In the light of that,
other thing, whether you are talking of cat dance now, or you are talking of emergency meeting now, or mouse disco now, everything reasonably, whether you think it is right or not, even if you are now doing the right thing, it will be construed as political.
So timing is everything too.
Timing is very instructive.
All right, how confident are you? Last take. How confident are you really that our security agencies can, quench and insurgency as quickly as possible? They're saying they've taken over the Sambisa forest totally.
The problem of you see, our own type of terrorism is called domestic terrorism. We don't have much problem. It is the politicians that are giving these security guys problems.
All right, we'll have to live with that.
Once they are able to arm them, give them the necessary fund, give them the marching order, you will be happy with your security agency.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, thank you very much for time.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.